if you would turn on the camera. And we'll pause a minute for it to get going.
Yeah, he said about 10 seconds.
It should be on your button. Or sign. Very good. So we will start the meeting. And if you would please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
I did, to the agenda, no. Sorry.
B5, report of special committees. We do have a budget and finance committee for November 14th, and we have a building committee at November 9th, to those. And then you have new business 7, staff resignations, Jennifer Lenfest, Ed Tech 1, special ed, North Regional Middle School. And that is it.
Very good. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October 11th meeting.
So moved.
Seconded. Robin, there is a correction that's needed. I believe that in the future agenda items, it's supposed to say in a manner that is making coaches question, not in a matter. I believe. That's what Mike
You said
said.
future agenda.
Yeah. It's like the third sentence down.
Very good, we made that notation.
You said Jason,
Yeah. Anything else? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? Fantastic. Next, we have public comment. If there is anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the board, this is the time to do so. And if you could give us your name and the town you're from.
William Sprague, I'm from St. Albans.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your first name.
William Sprague.
Thank you.
I was here before, I'm not going to speak.
Absolutely.
So I'm bringing before the board tonight some issues at the school, bullying, and some behavioral problems that my children, other parents' children, have been subject to, and it's been going on 2 years, and we got no resolution. We got physical abuse, we got mental abuse, we got smoking in the school, we got dope in the school, and everybody turns their head. We've shown videos, Mike's aware of, want to second it. We've had umpteen meetings with Mrs. Netto, and she says to 2 or 3 of my children here, put your head down and ignore it. You can only ignore so much. So they're tormented, you know, you got the bullies outside the teachers' rooms. There's no repercussion here. So we're coming to you, and it's a formality, because I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to end it. I'm going to keep going until we make change here. My daughter went on, she got 400 signatures. They want change. The people want change. Head shouldn't be turned. I'm not asking the school to be a babysitter. But when your children come into the school and they're put on the bus, they have temporary custody of children, right? Your child should be able to go to school safely, enjoy the sports, and get an education. I get honor students that are struggling with their grades right now. Struggling. Every one of them is honor students. Since they've been enrolled in this school, they've gone downhill. Not to mention, you know, they don't believe in calling law enforcement. They don't believe in calling ambulance. You know? 2 black eyes, broken nose, stitches in the... I mean, it goes on. You don't call an ambulance? At what degree do you call an ambulance? So think about it. If your child was here, and you know, you didn't get a call right away, and the school nurse says, well, here's some more pads, as my wife shows up to, you know, catch the bleeding on the way to the hospital. Don't make you feel too trusted, does it? Well, none of these children here tonight have no trust in the administration. Because when they go to the teachers and when they go to the principal, it gets back to the bully somehow. And I've told Mike, I've told Mary, and I'm not asking him to be a keeper either. But I'm asking him to put the hammer down. So, they don't trust the administration. So now they're watching their back all the time. You want your children doing that? I don't. I don't want my children to have to go to school and worry about being jumped by 7 or 8, bottom of the barrel. I don't want to have to do that. But I'm not going to change and put them in a different district and let the bullies take over the school. That's not how it works. Do something about the bullies.
Thank you.
And they want to read something, Diane.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Linda Sprague. I'm from St. Albans. I'm here today to share my story with you and note that some changes are made. I currently have 5 children enrolled in the RSU 9 district. All 5 of them have been bullied at some point. My 2 older children attend the high school. My son is a sophomore, my daughter is a junior. My son has been bullied repeatedly on a very consistent basis since the beginning of his freshman year. He has been bullied to the point that he did in fact try and stand up to this group of boys. In conclusion to that, he suffered a broken nose, stitches to his lips, 2 black eyes, and a concussion, all while dealing with a leaking appendix that he had just spent 4 days in the hospital with. The school handled everything very poorly. My son never lifted his hands, not once. A video was taken and circulated showing the assault. Some of you may have seen it. He was trapped in that bathroom by another boy blocking the door. Honestly, I saw it once, and if I'm fully honest, I don't think I fully watched it. I couldn't. It made me physically sick. It was my boy against several. My son had no one backing him. I can't imagine how scared he must have been to be in a situation such as he was. My son, the victim, was suspended for 3 days. He had decided the bullies won. I pulled my son for the remainder of the year. He wanted to go back to school in the fall, so after much discussion, we decided he should not be punished and miss out on sports or socializing with peers and having the opportunity to learn in person, as he didn't do anything wrong. A few days before school started, the messages to his phone came in, making threats, telling him they were not fond of him, watch his back, etc. He tried to join sports, but he had to quit because of harassment. Again, the victim pays. The taunting and threats continued. My husband and I both spoke with Mary numerous times. I have sent videos and messages of proof of what is happening. Again, not much changes. Mary asks my son to lay low for a while, keep his head down, maybe then it will stop. So that is the solution given, at least her solution. Lay low, take the name calling, the harassment. They follow him around school, again, him against a group of 4 or 5 boys. They walk by his classrooms repeatedly staring in, sometimes entering, pointing, and laughing at him. He took all that and more while he hung his head in shame in hopes that it would all stop. Guess what? It didn't work. It just got worse. I was told my son needs to stop. Don't stick up for yourself. These are not the kind of children we are raising. My kids are strong, confident, and will stand up for what they believe is right. Things got worse. My daughter's now being harassed by the same group to the point that a boy got in her face in a very threatening way until another boy stepped in and stopped it. They stand outside my daughter's classroom, they follow her in the halls, send her messages, they harassed my son's girlfriend to the point where she needed to leave school. They have even targeted his cousin. I have had several meetings asking Mary, how does this end? The same answer every time. She doesn't have the answer. Have your son hang low. As a parent, my job is to protect my children and to keep them safe. Imagine not being able to do that. There is so much more to this story. I could go on forever with the humiliation, degrading, and suffering my children have endured. I would like to know, do you have a zero tolerance bullying policy? When is it enforced? Does this policy state that the victim just hang their heads in shame? Because that was the only solution offered to us, which, let me remind you, did not work. How many children have been told this? How many children are not strong enough to endure all of this? What happens to them? Do they drop out of school? Do they transfer to another district? Why isn't the victim protected? I have watched my children change. They went from honor roll to barely passing. They're constantly watching their backs and worrying about what's next. Just imagine your child against a whole group, day in and day out, being harassed, looking for the adults to handle the situation, their confidence and dignity being brought down. Having no one to back besides one sibling in the school. How would that make you as their parent, protector, and mentor feel? My goal is to see change, to protect the victims, and to be sure that no other child has to be bullied as my children have.
Thank you.
Del Bowles at Newport. So It started out 2 years ago. COVID came through. My daughter had a really hard time in school. Grades were low. Last year, this started, grades stayed low. For this time, this year, she started coming to choose an honor roll. A's, B's, and I think 1 C. These kids continue to bully through phones, through social media, this is all stuff that's not legal, let alone in the school it's not allowed. I haven't been able to come in. My wife, Sherry, has gone to the principal with my daughter with statements of what's going on. We said that, you know, if this continues, we're going to have to take the police. We've got to get something done. The rumors of these kids, teachers being scared of these kids. That's a real issue. That's not just safety of our kids, it's faculty, everybody. The response given to Mackenzie for Miss Netto was, I wouldn't do that if I were you. That's a threat. That's not a good right for the principal. I like Miss Netto. I've been here for 4 years. I've watched a lot of these kids grow up. They're not bad kids. These ones are the ones that hang around my house all the time. I understand giving chances to kids. I don't want to see any kid fail, including these ones that are causing the problems. But if it's causing problems with the ones that are coming in to do what they're supposed to be doing, that's when something needs to be done. We have a principal that's not doing her job. From my understanding, and I'm only getting certain parts of this, the vice principal, Mr. Martin, he's part of that. He's doing it. He's trying to do something. But they're still bullying. They're still pushing. They're still waiting for them outside of classrooms. They're still getting messages. I've heard threats of guns. This is getting to be more serious. Working in the field I do, that's not a joke at all. So I just really like to see something be done like this. These kids need to be put in place.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hello, my name is Caius from St. Albans. Both my brother and sister are enrolled at Nokomis High School. I'm here to inform you of the impact a bullying situation has had on my brother, sister, and our household. But before I can do that, you need a bit of background on their personalities. My brother has always been caring for everyone, helping whoever he can in whatever way he can, whether it be something small like changing a light bulb or something big like hauling firewood for the winter. He's always careful and quick to make someone smile, albeit slightly annoying sometimes. The kind only a brother can be. My sister is similar in that she cares for most. Stubborn as a mule at times, but always quick to lend a hand if you ask. Her work ethic, as well as my brother's, are far greater than mine were at that age, and very well still could be. But since this bullying has started, I've seen them both change, starting with my brother and my sister soon following. As things progressed, they both started to become overwhelmed with stress, not being able to fully focus on schoolwork or any other recreational things, becoming less aware of what was happening and instead putting focus on the what-ifs. In turn, this affected not only them, but anyone who interacted with them. Instead of enjoying each other's company on a day trip, it was consumed with talk of how to handle the situation. At dinner time, instead of talking about how the day was, we talked about what the bully did today. On top of that, I have 3 younger siblings who have to go through the school system. Is it fair to them to suffer because the problem wasn't fixed the first time around? Is it fair Is it fair to me to wonder if my brother or sister is going to sustain more injuries, be it mental or physical? Is it fair to my mom, who worries about the next move, what the next move will be? Or to my dad, who works in Boston 5 days a week, to wonder if he's going to have to leave his job so he can come and protect his family? I don't think it is, and I can't imagine anyone else could.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, my name is Kaylin. I'm from St. Albans, and I'm a junior at the Nokomis Regional High School. For the past year, I had witnessed firsthand bullying, harassment, and hostility amongst my fellow peers. My parents, myself, and several other families have approached our current principal, Mary Netto. There's been no changes. There have been several students who are afraid to attend school. Some, including myself, have gone from honor roll students to barely passing because of the everyday distractions of the bullies. All trust has been lost in my current principal. I no longer feel that she provides a safe environment where we can access a fair education. Our daily lives have been subjected to a hostile environment. Over the past year, I've watched it slowly strip away our self-confidence, self-esteem, and dignity. I've lost all respect for my current school administration. I've watched them protect the bullies and try to blame the victims. I have personally been followed around the school, had boys stand out my classroom, pointing, laughing, and watching me through the door. I had also once had a boy get in my face in a threatening manner. Thankfully, another student removed him before anything really bad happened. My brother has been a victim in many of the same ways, including an attack that took place in the school bathroom. Mary Netto's solution is for us to lay our heads low and listen to the name-calling, taunting, and threats. In other words, just allow the bullies to degrade and humiliate us in front of our peers. The victims are being punished by not being able to play sports due to the harassment. I no longer feel safe walking the halls from class to class. As a student, I have made multiple attempts to speak with Mary Netto, only to be told that she believes the bullies' lies. She's constantly telling me that she does not believe they are a threat and that bullying is not happening. I have always been taught to stick up for myself, to be confident, and to stick up for what's right. I am looking to make this high school a safer place for myself, my siblings, and all the other students that have become victims of these bullies. I have made a petition that reached 400 signatures and many comments from some of my peers. I will share just a few. One being, I signed this because Miss Mary Netto has believed my bully over me. All she said was stop being childish. Yes, I get we are children, but I'm saying I'm getting bullied is not being childish, and she's wrong for not helping me when I needed it. Now I don't even go to school anymore, and my new principal does stop the bullies. Another quote, I too was a student of Nokomis for 2 years. I decided to test out and leave early due to one of the school counselors trying to meddle in my personal business and say what happened to me wasn't true. I also have gone to the principal for bus situations with my sister, and those kids are cyberbullying her, plus taking pictures of her on the bus. Nothing's being done, and my mom is about to take my sister out of middle school and put her in a different school because of this exact reason. Hope it stops before they ruin their reputation. Another one. I've been name-called, and I don't feel safe in class around guys with me calling me like anorexic or other things about my weight. I have had my confidence and self-esteem ripped from me over the years to the point I had fear of what people will say. And if I was to go to the principal about this, she would say she would not do anything and wouldn't believe me and tell me to ignore them. Another one. As the mother of the student of Nokomis Regional High School who is fully remote both last year and this year, for reasons that included those some expressed here, this needs to stop. It has gone far too long with those who who should be in a safe haven looking the other way. I'm not alone in this. We have contacted local law enforcement to try to stop it. Other families who are yet to sign this petition have actual recordings of violent students pursuing others. It's disgusting. In my day, this would have been handled now. As a student, I am coming to the school board for a resolution, as you have the power to make changes. I'm devoting my time to make change, and I'm pleading with you to help me in this process.
I'm Keegan Sprague. I'm from St. Albans. I'm a sophomore at Nokomis, and starting last year, I was able to keep my grades up, focus on school, be involved in sports, not having to worry about anything. And I've witnessed, these group of kids bully others, and then they finally came to me. So I decided, well, I might as well stand up for myself, but not only myself, my other peers. And by doing that, I suffered 2 black eyes, a broken nose, and a stitch in my lip. So I got pulled out of school for that because obviously my parents had to worry what were they going to do again. And my personality is I stick up for myself. I don't take anything, and I also don't like to see anybody else have to be humiliated or bullied. So this year I've had them repeatedly come up to me, but also my cousins, my siblings, and my girlfriend. And we've talked to Miss Nettle about it, and she kind of just tells me to keep my head down, don't say anything, don't look at them. Pretty much just like not do anything. She actually told me to walk the opposite direction if I see them, which why should I have to suffer? Because they're just a group of kids that are low lifes, I guess. And like I said, if I stay home, I have to worry about what they're gonna do to my family members and my girlfriend, which I shouldn't have to. And I shouldn't have to worry about, you know, them getting hurt or myself getting hurt again. So I think they should be, I think something should happen to them. And like I said, my personality is to not take anything. So when I see them do this to me and others, it puts me right back in the predicament that I did last year, is confront them and tell them not to, seeing how the district won't do anything about it. So I just think something should change.
Let me just clarify something for Keegan. Keegan's trained in MMA, undefeated in his weight class. When he was beat in the bathroom, he could have did anything he wanted to do. But, and I can show you the video, he never lifted his hands. He took the beating in the face. Just took the beating. When he got out, and I feel it's on my shoulders, because when he got out of there, he said, "Dad, I told you nothing would happen to the bullies even if you don't lift your hands." So think about that as a parent. Now what do you say to your child? He took a beating for it.
I've also had comments come out about my dad, and I'm very close to my dad, and when I hear them say that they're gonna pound my dad's face in, it really makes the blood go to my head. Like, there was an incident that a kid said he was gonna leave my dad flat out on the ground, and his dad was also gonna get at my dad. So again, like I said, it puts me in a predicament where almost like I have to fight them because the district won't do anything, and that shouldn't have to be. So.
Thank you.
But I tell you, don't worry about what they say about me.
And
Is
I've
there any-
also had them, my mom has always told me to let them throw the first punch, that way I don't get in trouble for it. So that's, you know, I let him hit me anyway, and I got suspended for it, for not even lifting my hands. And I actually, this year, she punished me and told me that I wasn't allowed to use I had to go to a single stall bathroom, and wasn't allowed to use a regular bathroom because of them. So I just don't get why me, the victim, has to be punished for their actions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I would like to say something. Not big on public speaking, but this is my daughter Madison. And it starts at this level on the bus. She had a boy throw a full Gatorade bottle right at her face. And then with this whole situation, we've said make sure anybody hits you, stand up for yourself. And Miss Donahue was really good with it because the little boy kicked her, so she hit back. Well, it ended with Maddie getting off the bus, getting punched in the face. And Miss Donahue did very good and took them both into the office and talked with them. But a kid her age should not be on a bus with kids smoking weed. And that's what they're exposed to. And then these two shouldn't be in French class and have to go out of class all day because people are in class and it smells so bad like weed that you can't even concentrate or breathe. And they say, "I'll go back to class and open a window." It's not fair. These kids should be set straight for what they're doing wrong, or we should just pull our kids from the district.
There's one more thing that bothers me. With the same bullying that keeps on happening, these kids are the ones being sent home. They're the ones that are getting good grades, are the ones not causing problems, trying to mind their own business, do their own thing. Girlfriend, boyfriend, friends. They're coming to school like we pay for, and we want them to. But they're the ones being sent home. I don't have the names of these children. I want to be able to put them publicly now because of that mean, rude perverter. One of them has put their hands on my daughter. As fathers, I'm sure you can imagine how I feel about that. I'm not impressed. Again, where's it going to stop? And when this person that's in charge, the one that's supposed to be dealing with these kids, and saying, "No, you go home, you stay home. You stay after school for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't care how long." Something needs to be done to let these kids do what they're supposed to be doing. If she came home and this was happening, yeah, I'd be dealing with it 100%. Any of my kids. Obviously, the parents aren't going to, so something has to be done at this level. Thank you.
I appreciate
I
it.
had one more thing, I'm sorry. One other situation on the bus, Keaton's had to sit there and listen to the same group of boys that have been bullying go on and could overhear the words about, oh, Julio's coming from New York, he'll have a gun, this and that. Who wants to sit there and hear somebody say they're going to do that to your cousin? So she turned around, and one of them yelled at her and said, who are you looking at? You turned the F around right now. I said, Keaton, what did you do? She's like, I turned right around. And I said, oh, no, you don't. That's not fair. So these guys just have to just turn around and ignore. But I just think that something bad's going to happen if we don't get control on them. And if they didn't with the younger ones. So at least I'm very thankful how Ms. Donners handled that situation. But at this level, it's not happening.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anything that you would like to comment on now, or you would like to have the opportunity to maybe sit down with some of these parents one-on-one?
Well, I can speak a little bit to the issue because Mr. Sprague and I have sat down. And this does stem from, a lot of this stems from an issue that was last year. And I've also sat and said, you know, what is the resolution? And I also, when the petition came out, I said, what is the resolution? How do you want to walk through the bullying policy and see where it doesn't meet up with what the expectations are? I've also been, DHS has been called to see if we handle this issue improperly. DOE has been called to see if we handle this issue properly. I'm not the one that calls the ambulance. That's up to the nurses because they have a medical background, and he and I have talked about that. And I don't know as I can speak too much to some of the issues that I don't know about the families that I haven't dealt with. That just wouldn't be a place for me to speak. I also, you know, I'm willing to sit down and see if it needs to go to advisory and have conversations, and if it needs to go to some other type of thing where there's action that we can talk to all the students about. But again, this issue stems from a while ago, and the groups are not friendly with each other. It was an unfortunate situation that Mr. Sprague put himself into.
Put himself into? Put himself into what?
Yeah.
Don't lie to the board. He didn't put himself into nothing.
He did. So here's why I don't want to report on it, because I have factual information that the kid that he called into the bathroom was dismissed, and he asked the kid to come to the bathroom. So I'm not going to go into that because it's the issue that started this whole thing. But I'm willing to sit down, and I told Kaylin that in her emails to me. I've said it to Mr. and Mrs. Sprague. What steps do you want to see happen? And if it, like I said, advisory, having conversations about it, bringing people in to talk about bullying, to talk about the situations, that's what's going to move this forward. Not going back to this issue that happened a long time ago. Because I've told Mr. Sprague, call the police.
The issues haven't stopped up until
Call the police. Do what you need to do to that other individual. That's where I've left this. I don't know whether, we've been around this conversation a bunch of times with the Spriggs, and I'm willing to see change and have conversations and bring students' voices forward. That's what's going to solve this, not continuing to have this conversation all night. between Spriggs and I.
One quick thing.
Okay, so what's going on here, though, is a bigger thing with the bullying. You have that one, and I don't want to say the name. So he might have stopped doing it for a little bit, but he's branched it out, and he has his homies taking care of it. So then you have all the homies, as they're calling it, that are sitting there harassing them all. So you might have like 6 other kids, but Cadence even had one kid on the bus come up to her. He's one that's part of this little group, and he said, oh, so I don't think he said cousin, but he's like, oh, they started a petition because they want to get all of us in trouble. And she's like, that's not what the petition's for, it's for change. And the kid said, oh, well, that would actually be good then, because I really don't want to keep doing it. So all these kids that are burnt out and having to bully, they want it to end. But I think they're scared of that top dog doing it to them too. So if we don't stop it and put a thing on it, it's just going to keep going. And I think they really, all these kids, even the ones that are being bad, they want to just be able to go to school. I mean, we've got to do something before something bad happens.
So, I thank you very much for speaking in front of us. We most certainly do realize that there is an issue out there, and I think that the superintendent is willing to sit down and speak to some of the ones that he has not spoken to, and maybe we can come up with a resolution.
How many situations, my name is Connor from St. Albans, how many situations are going to happen before you actually kick these kids out of school?
I can't give you that answer.
It's
Haven't you caught them with weed?
multiple times.
We're going to end this conversation, and we're going to look into it further.
I also have one more thing to say. He did not call him into the bathroom for a fight. He called him in to talk and ask him what his problem is, because he was blowing in his face and antagonizing before it even took place.
Thank you.
And Mike knew that because we told him.
Okay,
So,
we're going
Mike,
to
you're
move on.
asking
Thank
my
you very
dad
much.
to-
Okay, so
to
the next
resolve
would
it.
be reading of communications. And
They
I
want
believe
the
that
parents
there
to
was
resolve
been,
it. They don't want to resolve it.
yes,
I'm all
we
set. I'm
do.
all set with this.
Okay,
I guess we
thank
gotta
you.
settle the board. I'm all set.
Administrative communications have been
Read it, Mike.
in the
Read
packet,
it, buddy.
and hopefully everybody's had a chance to read them. And moving on to the superintendent and board communication. Yep, no, you can. All right, report. Moving on to report.
Well, I had a great visit with Grandparents' Day over at Somerset. There were at least 200 guests, plus the whole student body was over there to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner. It was a wonderful experience that hasn't happened since prior to COVID, obviously. I've gotten a chance to see the 7th, 8th concert band and chorus participate one afternoon. This morning, actually, Mary and Christine, the yellow coordinator, and I went to this kickoff for the apprentice meet. The Commissioner of the Department of Labor was there this morning, and a young lady named Jillian Ratcliffe discussed the benefits she's seen participating in the apprentice program, and she's really embraced it. I think she's taken her competency test to see if she can continue to go past the first apprenticeship 1 to apprenticeship 2, and I believe that she will be choosing a career in the trades. And so we had 20 kids that are over there, and it's an amazing program, as some of the people in the Education Committee have heard. We are the first school, if you missed it, to participate in this, and it's an amazing opportunity for our kids. And there was also some people in the industry there talking to the kids and seeing that a lot of them have come out of other apprenticeship programs themselves and now are successful in major corporations. So trying to get back to some normal activities, and that's my report.
Any questions? Moving on. Reports of special committees. First one would be budget and finance.
We met last night. It's a loose piece of paper you all have in your packets. The budget committee has asked the department heads to come to us with staffing requests in this extraordinary time as our grants are ending and such. So you'll start seeing some of this information coming through on our minutes. Mr. Dean Neal showed up asking for another high school music position to better support the influx of students that we are seeing new to the program. Again, that's just a heads up for a request that will be coming in the budget. Financials were reviewed, the information is there. Everything looked on track, there were no questions on that. And then I call her Miss Stella because that last name trips me up. She came and explained to us the special education staffing needs. In our report, you can also see the increase of the demand on our staff and students just this year. We can only assume those numbers will continue to grow over time as we expand those programs to lower ages and higher ages. So it's just kind of a lot of information coming up, so we're not bombarded with it come actual budget season. It's a good time to ask more in-depth questions. So anybody interested in that process, please feel free to be at the next budget meeting. As Joe discussed, the audit is ongoing. We are with a new company this year, so that process has been a bit different. We're hoping to have something in December to review. I believe our next meeting currently is on 12/20. And are there any questions? That's all
Thank
I
you.
got.
Moving on to building.
We've met twice, one right after the last board meeting and then again last week. And so we've got a committee formed to work on renaming the Etna Dixmont School, or explore renaming it at least. and Jess is going to chair that for us, and a couple other people of the board are going to pitch in, and then I believe she's going to be looking for community input from that. We've started working on a plan for the football field lighting, which will need an engineered scope of work. We've started looking for potentials for donated work, but again, until we know exactly what the scope is, we don't have we don't know exactly what they will need to donate. Somerset Water treatment building is done. The water line's been flushed. We're still waiting for some of the computer controls to be finished being installed. 2 exterior doors were replaced at Nokomis. I think some of us had our first experience with some of those last meeting. Then Sebastica and Somerset have finished most of their air conditioning and air handling units. Some of the graphic work is, graphics in this case meaning the computer interfaces for those. And then for Etna Dixmont School, they've got the combination lock that's being given to parents so that they can get in and access areas. And Town of Etna is currently maintaining the ball field. And then the other thing that we came up with was some need for certain signage and what they call a wear carpet over the track for football games. And let's see, what else did we have there? Etna Dixmont also has a traffic circle where the parent drop-off is right now, and it's very, very bumpy and rough, and we're getting pricing for reclaim and fill, so we're working on that. Right now, we don't know if they'll be able to squeeze us in before winter or not, but we're working on the idea. And then the plowing, the last one in this group is the plowing contractor for Somerset Elementary, which was only doing that school, has requested an increase in his contract costs to more than double what he's currently being paid. And so what Alicia's done is reach out to the second bidder from the initial award to see if they want to pick up this year, which is the last year before we put it up for rebid, or we will have to rebid it for a plowing contract.
Yeah, I can give you an update.
Go for it.
What's that? Sorry.
I can give you an update on that. So we went back to the person, one person that was the backup bid just can't handle the business, and she's trying to be able to cover what she can. So what we did is we went back to the person and said there's no way we can double what you bid. We understand fuel prices and some things are expensive, so if we take off December, we just do, if we take off November, you just do December, January, February, March, will you do it for this price? So he did come back down. I've got my fingers crossed we don't have a major snowstorm tomorrow. But the bus garage will take care of it. We do have a new truck. The other backup trucks. We have 2 trucks and a tractor if we need to get over there. If we happen to have a big, huge snowstorm, the bus garage will be able to take care of Somerset tomorrow. And we'll go into December with the person that, at a little bit of increased price, but it's not what he individually wanted.
Think no snow for November. No snow for November. Anything else for building? Any other questions for building? Paul?
Last Friday they came to look at the Etna Dixmont situation. The water, the hot water being cool and the
Mr.
cross.
Bell.
Yeah, I haven't got an update on
Did they come last Friday?
They came Friday, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was not there obviously, but I do know that the custodian let them in and then went back in the afternoon. But they did come.
I'll have Alicia's, I know they were coming that Friday because there was no students. I'll see if she's got an update and shoot that out to the board and the building committee. So they were there, whether they got to the bottom of it, Paul, I guess we don't know already.
Is the engineer still coming to look at the lights on the football field?
Yeah, the 22nd.
22nd?
Yeah, that hasn't changed yet.
Thank you.
Regarding that, you had mentioned possible donations. I'm assuming we're thinking about talking to the Electrical Brotherhood?
Yes, we can, and we also, Simon's father is connected somehow to Chimbro, and Chimbro's, I'm not going to speak for them, but I think they're willing to donate some of their lift services to install them. So I think it'll move forward once we actually have a scope of where they need to be, whether the poles that we have are adequate. I think we're going to go with LED because the ones that we have will be very expensive to maintain for the district going forward. So I think we've got some good energy, but I think the donations will come. It's just like we need to find out what we actually need. So, but yes, the Brotherhood or local electricians, because one of the local electricians is going to look at the poles with Simon and I on the 22nd. So, yeah.
Moving along.
So,
anything else?
Do we have an actual fund for the football lighting? Was there previous fundraising for that?
Previous funding through a boosters group that isn't the same boosters group that we seem to have now.
They were the ones that originally came to the board and asked.
But what happened to the money
Yeah, I
that
was
was
gonna say,
left
where's the
over?
fund?
Because that's a huge question with a lot of people is, it wasn't down to just a zero balance. So where did that money go, and how some have reached out and asked what the balance was on that and where it got transferred to, and no one's getting a response.
I don't know how much was in there, but I know the price was $25,000 for those poles, and I don't know if they really had that much more money. And there is the balance of that would have been what Mary has shown the people that have asked for it, because it's in her.
So that got transferred to the all sports booster?
The All Sports Boosters is a smaller group that does like 2 or 3 events throughout the year.
So where did that money go to?
I don't think there is the money that people, any of that money that's in those checking accounts, Mary has showed to the people that have asked for it.
They just had football tonight for the banquet, and those people are saying, can you ask about that? Because they still have not received a response.
Those people need to come in and sit with Joe and I, and Mary, like, we have to all sit at the same table and have the same conversation. Because
But if the email goes to all people, how come we can't find a resolution to say there was 12 cents left in it that got transferred to whatever? Like, it shouldn't be a difficult situation.
It shouldn't be, because there's all sports that there's like a small thing for like raising a couple of scholarships, and there's like 2 groups that, there's a dance that does that, so all sports, that seems to be like an internal thing. This external boosters group that raised the money for those polls, I don't know who was in control of it and all of that. And when Joe and I look at our boosters policy, it's supposed to be a separate organization with its own structure, with its own accounting purposes. And it's a very specific policy when it comes to boosters. So whoever was in charge of that money, and I truly don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And then whomever Mark dealt with to go buy those poles from Lewiston with that pocket of money, it's got to be Melissa or has tried to answer those
Mary
questions.
should have some kind of information on as to who got approved to spend that money, I would think, right? Okay.
Somebody should know who walked down that road with Mark and said, yeah, let's go there, and this is what we have to spend, and this is what Lewiston's asking us for, and if there was anything left over.
Okay.
Joe and I can't help find that information. And we've tried to show every account, and Mary has a million of them, and we've tried to show the people those accounts.
Okay.
That group is probably a totally autonomous organization, separate from us.
Some of them are.
And it should be, and I think it was. But the problem is that Melissa and Terry unfortunately run a lot of those accounts. And there's never been like, oh, okay, there was this money left over from the lights, and if it was a light account. We've never seen that transfer.
So some, Robin, you made reference to some are autonomous and some aren't. I mean, you've been a part of the music group for 2 years.
Separate.
So some are tied in with our budget, some are not.
We've tried to make this complete separation and start this all over.
Because football was never, the younger football booster was never a school-funded program. It was done through the rec. So it was completely separate. But the last I knew, the people that were doing the treasury and all of that type of stuff, that has switched. So, and since the lights have been purchased. Well, I know there was more than that because I was one of the people fundraising in that atmosphere of time years ago. And where did the money go? Like if it said there was only 25,000, when you spent 25,000 in Lewiston, then great. That's an answer. But right now it's, well, I don't know, call this person, call that person, and email someone that hasn't been a part of it for 6 years. Like, that's getting absolutely nowhere. Someone needs to find out where the booster money went, how it was spent, and the checks and balances, because that's publicly funded. There should be public knowledge.
If it was completely autonomous group where you're having bean suppers and car washes to get $25,000, and with our policy, I haven't looked at that one for many years, but this person that was the original treasurer should have all the info, and we would be not privy to any of that.
Yeah.
When you guys say, well, we raised $25,000, here's the money, can you facilitate getting some polls? That's where our part of it stops. But it's that treasurer that you've lost somewhere in the woodwork.
Because there was a situation that some of the funding now was merged with parts of the school. It wasn't just the boosters through the rec, that changed. So when that changed, that money was supposed to transfer over into the new funding program, but I don't believe it ever did. So where did it go?
So the treasurer didn't get it put over there, and that's the treasurer from the autonomous group that started raising the money.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But nobody knows. No one has answers to that. That's the problem.
I will continue to help. Joe and I definitely want this, and this is why it needs to be separate, and this is why they need to follow the policy, and I know that traditionally there was, some of the boosters helped support the rec program, just like you're saying, and then some of them wanted to raise the money for the lights, and then maybe we can track down who signed their name on that check and back it up to that. I mean, and now we want to separate it. We want to make it so that if you're a football booster, you raise money, and whether it's for a thing or whether we're going to raise this money and we're going to give it to the coach and the athletic director to make the decisions on it, we want to iron that out. And that's partly why I think they've made this split recently, because if you're a football person, you on the high school side, you want to just raise money for the high school program, you've done your job with the little kids. I completely get that. And this was the same way it was in Holton. Holton started their high school football all the way through those people that wanted to do it, and then they continued to try to keep the younger program going, but that becomes difficult as people go through the program.
So as it stands now, do we have any money for lighting, or this is what we're starting?
We're starting kind of a new project because it's going to be more than $25,000, and we have the polls. That's what kind of started it.
Some of us, though, have talked to some of the businesses in town, and there is definitely donations available, but we need the engineer to say, this is what has to be done, and give us an outline, so we can then hit them up and say, well, this is how much that portion is going to be, this is how much we would love to see as a donation, we can put your name on the fence, you know, that kind of stuff. So there is things in the works, but until the 22nd, we just don't have to be able to have further conversations on it.
Right.
All of those things that were just listed, I'm assuming those would come back to the board. There will be expenses going forward that will not be donation, including additional
if
costs.
there's anything that comes out of, that we see that the building committee sees that needs to come forward, it will come to the board.
Thank you.
Anything else? Moving on. Education, there was no meeting.
I do have something else.
Yes.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our next meeting is going to focus on, Education Committee meeting is going to focus on the positive things that are happening with the gardening program, future of that program. So I would encourage, even if you're not on the Education Committee, it's a lot of pretty awesome stuff, and all 3 of the elementary schools certainly, so please attend the next meeting, which is the first, unless there's a change, first Tuesday of each month, across the street. Thank you.
Moving on, policy.
We didn't have a meeting, but you'll have to excuse me, my eyes are very irritated and I can barely read. But it does look like we have a second reading of policies for a job description, accounts payable, accounting plan. And I assume we need a motion to that effect, so I would make a motion that we accept the second reading, the accounts payable accounting clerk job description.
Seconded.
We have a motion and second on the floor to accept the policy as presented. Any discussion on that?
This is second reading of first.
Second. Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? It passes. Anything else for policy? Thank you very much. Next, transportation, and I believe no meeting. Tri-county?
Mike will speak to that. We didn't quite have a quorum, so we had a brief meeting that was all just report out on the directors. No real report.
Negotiations has not met.
I will say that there's a potential that we have a MOU that deals with the minimum wage going forward, but I want to have a conversation with Karina before it comes to you.
Very good. Extracurricular ad hoc, nothing. Pandemic, nothing. And the school naming committee. Anything you'd like to report on that?
No, we haven't met yet. We just had volunteers completed within the last week, so I'll reach out with Evelyn and Mike and see what's going to be the best time frame for everyone, and we'll get started.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Consideration of early release time for staff.
Yeah, this is an idea for a half day prior to Thanksgiving and prior to Christmas break, and it came out of the admin team. And it's basically, I know I brought this up during COVID, and I can't tell you that it's not warranted this time either, and I'll explain why. We were at one admin team meeting, and there was one building who had 14 to 16 people out. There was another that had 11, another one had 11, and they probably each had 2 subs. And so what's happening is that every time that there's somebody who's out, and it's not all COVID, because I know Mary had 14 out today, and it's all this SRV and the other virus, A or whatever it's called. And whenever that happens, somebody has to cover those classes, and usually it's another teacher who's going to cover those classes. It's somebody else, it's an ed tech who's taking over for the classroom. It's somebody else, it's an administrator who's trying to balance their buildings to see if every piece and part of their building is covered for the day. And I can't tell you that when you have 12 people out and you have 2 subs, that it's not going to mean everybody's, all hands are on deck. So this is just a gesture that says we appreciate the fact that you've covered for each other. We appreciate that we're going into the holidays. We appreciate that there's sickness in the building. We wish it wasn't there. And historically you probably had the half day before Christmas off anyway, and people just did it back in the day. The teachers have not asked for this. Actually, teachers in the contract, if they continue to sub in an emergency situation, they can act. There's actually a formula that we haven't really created yet, but they could request to be paid for that, and they haven't done that yet. And like I said, this isn't an ask from the teachers. It's an ask for your administrators who, again, I would say they need this as much as anybody else, because I've said, are you okay? Can you hold this together? Can we have school? How can we help? And so that's basically what this is, and I know I have asked in the past. And I thought it was just because of COVID, but this year for these guys, it's craziness. So So I'll take any questions and comments and whatever you want.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Not yet. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I have questions, but I move that you're recommending this?
I'm recommending this.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for early release time for staff.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, Ryan?
What are the specifics of this in terms of date and time?
So it will be the 22nd, next Wednesday, Tuesday, next Tuesday, half day, and then the 22nd of,
23rd is a Friday.
21st of December.
I'm sorry, so, I should write my calendar.
Just a half day before Christmas break, and next Wednesday, the teachers have a comp day, conferences, so it's Tuesday before we go to Thanksgiving break.
And Tuesday is already...
Full day right now, I will be asking for it to be a half.
Okay, so you're asking for the 22nd of November to be a half day.
Right.
And the 21st of December.
Yes.
To also be a half day?
Right.
That's more time at home with me.
I would.
Your husband wrong up with me. Clarifying over here. Wait,
all the parents are going to say no.
Who seconded that motion?
I did.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that we add those specifics. So move to amend the motion so that the superintendent's recommendation of a half day November 22nd and a half day December 21st are early release time for staff.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very much.
Yes.
I just think that we also need to think of parents who have looked at the school calendar and have made arrangements. And now next week, there's a new half a day. They have to find childcare if they work. They have to make new arrangements. That's kind of last minute. And I mean, teachers, I love the teachers. They do a lot. But you're going right into a vacation where they're getting time off. Why do we have to add a new time off?
I get it. I knew there's two sides to that, and I think we want to do this one earlier, and maybe it's not the right time. Maybe we need to give parents more time to do it. Either have the time or not do it.
Any other?
Granted, I'll speak as a parent and as myself, I guess. It is short notice, and although my child that is still attending school is not in grade school, I was the person that was in walk-in care for myself because I couldn't even swallow water. It is so bad right now. There's so much sickness. Like, even the custodians alone, I think, need an extra half a day to get these buildings back to healthy. There was 28 people, and I was there an hour before the door opened at walk-in care. So it is so, so bad. The doctor's offices in our area, you can't even get through the front door. All of their emergency visit rooms are 48 hours filled before, which they're supposed to be same day. It is bad right now. So whatever we need to do to keep people staffed and healthy, I think a half a day is not going to be the end of the world.
Right.
I just agree with that. We were at the high school last night for parent-teacher conferences, and of my daughter's 6 teachers, we only were able to meet with 3. And I think Mary said there were 14 staff out yesterday. So.
Have we done this in the past? Okay. And has anyone ever heard of how many concerns come from parents? I mean, she does bring up. I can do it because I have a son that can stay with my younger kids. But if I didn't, I would be kind of like, ugh. I'm not sure what to do either. I mean, I can't. It's hard. I mean, I see both. I do see it. I don't know. So
Yeah,
if we had heard,
we could pick. I mean, I guess it was an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you split it. Maybe you make it later on. It is short notice. I get that, but it's also self-preservation. So I
get
understand. I completely understand.
And maybe instead of doing a half day right now, is there something we can do for the teachers just to show our appreciation, like provide a lunch for them, something like that? And then maybe give them a half day off sooner than we were going to, besides Thanksgiving? just to kind of keep the peace with everybody.
I can talk to the admin team about what they think that teachers might need. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Other than
mean-
time was the thing that they came up with, because they're all covering time.
I get it, and I don't want to burn our administrators and teachers out. I do not want to do that.
You also have to think of the hourly staff who will not be getting paid for that either.
We have in the budget, they're covered. When I say the staff, please don't think that I'm just talking about teachers.
So they'll be paid too?
Yeah, I'm talking about the ed techs that have to cover, hey, you weren't gonna be with that student today, can you go cover this classroom? No, we have in the budget, and that's what I'm saying, that's why it's not just my decision that has to come here. But no, I'm talking nobody's gonna lose out because we chose to do this.
If this is decided on, can we get that communication out first thing tomorrow? So there's it's a week.
It'd probably be on
6 days.
on TV right now. And then
So
we'll
watch
put
that
it out first. We'll put it out first thing.
It'll be on Facebook in 2 seconds.
Yes, we'll put it out. I'm not gonna just rely on that, but
Yeah, I know.
but it will be out very early.
Anything else before we vote? Paul?
So it's a total of how many hours for each day?
Well, an early release.
You say
Depends
early
on what school
release,
year.
are we releasing at 9:30 or what's the, what's?
That's 11,
11, 12?
11, 12, 12, 12.
And next month's a little later.
And the next month's 12. Depends, like, so it's 3 hours maybe out there. Depends on what school you're in.
Well,
Are we ready to vote?
I'm with this young lady, and they got how many days off after this half day if it passes? What is it, 5 days?
Well,
They have Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
which is, and one day after, and then the normal.
Well, it's Thanksgiving and the day after. It's Saturday and Sunday, and then they're back on Monday, right?
Christmas is over a week off, so that's like a lot.
There's 2 holidays in there, though.
And, you know, I grew up on a dairy farm. The cow didn't say, well, I'm feeling bummed. You know, the farmer's feeling bummed today, so he ain't gonna come out and milk us. You milked the cows when you were dying of flu or whatever. So, and they've got time off soon thereafter. I probably won't be in favor of it.
Anything else?
He's killing me.
If not, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Those opposed?
Jason, Paul,
There's a hard one. Passes.
Moving on to staff resignation.
Yes, it's resignation. Eric Swanson, I think you probably put him on the board last meeting, and he's resigned. And then Hannah Moody's a teacher, actually, but she's acting as an Ed Tech 3 as far as the budget goes. Those are 2 resignations. And Jennifer Lundfest. Yes.
There are no nominations. And staff appointments?
Patrick Code, Ed Tech 3 Special Ed, College Region Middle School, and Tammy Kimball, Ed Tech 1 Special Ed.
And staff transfers.
Yes, Darlene White went from Ed Tech 2 to Special Ed to Ed Tech 3 at Nokomis Regional Middle School. Rachel Haviland went to Ed Tech 3 at Special Ed Nokomis Regional High to Ed Tech 2 at Nokomis Regional Middle School. Courtney Arsenault wanted to go from server to a cook, and Grace Hall went to cook to server. That was our shuffle.
Sounds like it worked.
It does work.
Very good. So no action needed on any of those. And the next thing on the docket is future agenda items. Right.
I'm not sure exactly how to address this, but I think we heard from the public tonight about some pretty specific issues. It sounds like there's a lot of history there and a lot of issues, but I don't think that should just go away. I know some of those kids and parents, and I haven't heard from them about this separately, but I have seen some of the things on my daughter's Snapchat thread or whatever the hell it is, and it's pretty bad. So I don't know if it's a revisit of the policy, if it's an executive session about that particular, I don't know what the solution is, but I don't want that to just go away. I think it needs to be dealt with in some way.
It is not going away.
If it's our attorney, whatever it is. So, thank you.
No, that is not my intention, is for it to go away, but it's difficult if you ask for parents to come in so that you can have a conversation and they don't come, which is some of that, but Mike will be addressing it, and we'll bring it back.
Well, could we know when we will know about it? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because there was more than one family, that's all. So
Right.
and I mean, we don't want them to feel like we're not listening, I guess.
And they will not.
I don't want that at all.
Right.
But you also.
But we need to fix it then.
It's loaded, and
I understand.
I can't explain
Yeah.
everything, because our administration needs to be heard too,
Right.
because
Sure.
they,
Yes.
they did a lot of due diligence, but so it won't go away. It won't go away. I want to sit down and have a conversation. I truly think more students need to find their voices, and like I said, I was hoping for some direction, like can we go to the bullying policy and have it reviewed and say, where does this fall? Because it's extensive, but you walk through it, and at the end of the day, is it not? Could we have done something different? Should it go to advisory? Do we need to bring some people in to talk about it and have some assemblies? I mean, there's definitely action we can take, but we got to put our energy in that basket.
And Mike will reach out to Mr. Sprague and let him know that we ended it tonight because it wasn't getting any further.
Sure.
But we haven't dismissed it and it not be addressed.
Just thank you for bringing that up, because that's exactly what I wrote down too. It seems like the frustration of that group of people was that this is continuing because it was not dealt with properly last year. And just as a mom sitting here, that broke my heart. And if you try to talk to someone, regardless of how the boys transpired into that bathroom, no one should ever lay hands on someone else, and that should have been addressed immediately. And I don't care who should have been in trouble, whatever, but that young man coming in here, as emotional as his entire family is, because this has been tormenting his family for a year, that needs to be nipped, like, immediately.
I do want to share, last week, my son was getting bullied at Nokomis. I addressed it with Mary, and Mary took care of it very quickly. I too reached out to the other parent in the situation, and between the three of us, it was resolved in a matter of a few hours, after school. And Mary did make a phone call to follow up with me after all was said and done to check on my son and make sure everything was going okay. I don't want the issues to go away, because it is a serious issue. Bullying anywhere is, but I also want it to be not even fair to everybody, but just to everybody, including the administration and the board, because this is part of us right now as well. So, I don't want it to be somebody's not getting their own way, or, they're not seeing the results they want to, so we're going to make a bigger deal than it needs to be. I want it all to be laid out, handled, and discussed fairly.
I like Ryan's idea. We here are getting bits and pieces of it. I like the idea of an executive session to get down to the brass tacks of the thing. I think that would be very useful for us. We're going to be asked to make some decisions, even if it's just a policy change on how this works. And I don't care how good a teacher you are or whatever. The bullies are very crafty. They will bully you when they come out like they're the next pope. They will bully you when nobody can see it. and the kids feel it. We need to get to the bottom of this, and I think an executive session would probably be helpful for us to know the details, or ever how many it's useful for us to know.
When we approved the budget to put in another guidance counselor because there were so many issues within the school. And this is not just a bullying situation. This is now a mental health situation because it's affecting those group of children. It's affecting their way of life at home. It's affecting their school. It's affecting their work that they're producing. This picture is very large. And I think if that's the route that everyone's comfortable with, then that's great, but I think it needs to be decided on very quickly, and we need to move fast because this is a situation that does not just go away on its own.
Right.
I did not mean to start a conversation at the
You
end of the meeting. What I'm hoping is that
It's important, so it's okay.
I agree with what Alyssa said. I have been doing this for 5.5 years, and I haven't yet seen an issue where one side of the story was the whole story. So that's what I'm saying is basically, in this specific issue, with this family or this instance, if we need to hear from the administration, I think we need to go into executive session because we're talking about individuals. Mm-hmm. On the larger scale, I looked at the bullying policy and it is very extensive, so I don't know. Those might be two separate issues, and your idea of there may need to be more focus on it in the schools because it is rampant. What could be considered bullying or just inappropriate behavior, especially on social media and phones, and it's a nightmare. So that's why I brought up future agenda items. Can we continue to work on it, please?
Well, and that
Thank you.
brings up a good point. I mean, it's not, I don't feel like it's he said, she said, we don't really well, I don't know that family, I have no idea what the situation is, but I mean, kind of what Jessica said is, we want everyone and the students who had it takes a lot of courage to come and stand up and talk, really. We just want everyone to know that we take it seriously, and I mean, the board is here for a reason, I guess, and it is it's a different time we live in. Social media it follows the kid home. And I don't know what that's like because I'm older. We never had to deal with that in school. I can't even imagine it. And I know the school can only do so much with social media, but it goes all together. And I've seen, my child isn't even getting bullied, but I see what some people put on. I've had to call the school just like kind of as a parent, an FYI, this is what I saw on social media, and I know that that's got nothing to do with you, but maybe you know the child's parents, something, just because some things are very concerning.
Jason.
So 2 years ago, we hired school security officer? Is that what we call him?
Security monitor.
Security monitor in place of our school resource officer. And I was a proponent of getting rid of the school resource officer. But where does our school security officer stand? Where is his position on this? Because I believe bullying needs to be dealt with swiftly and aggressively. These kids don't learn from anything but violence. So they need somebody to get in their face and tell them to stop. Policy is not going to stop them. So we need somebody that's going to stand up for the kids that don't have a voice and stop it. And stop it now. Because these kids don't listen. They don't read policy. They don't care about policy. And like Paul said, they will find you in the deepest, darkest corner. I found it. I learned as a child being bullied. And that's no fun. This drives kids to suicide. That's the thing I'm afraid of. Take care of it. Take care of it quickly. And if it has to be brought before us at an executive session, I'll be the first person to stand up and say, get out of my school. I don't tolerate it. I know the fear that those kids go through. I'm a grown man, and I feel it right now. I lived that. Those kids don't deserve it. I've heard from teachers that are afraid to walk into parking lots in our own school district. This needs to end. If it takes the police presence, do it. but it needs to end. Thank you.
The security monitor will be part of the discussion.
It doesn't matter that we think or somebody thinks that it's solved and it's maybe thought of as being taken too far away. I was in the same boat at this very school, and I think some people don't take it seriously enough. It doesn't matter whether you think it's fixed and they don't think it's fixed or vice versa. Certainly the perception is still there that it hasn't been taken care of, and if it's not serious, what will be? So I think we have to have probably an executive session or something to dig this thing down. Special meeting at this point.
Yeah.
I'm willing.
It hasn't been taken care of to anyone's standards if it's still happening and they're still being told to, walk in the other direction or step aside. I understand there's only so much Mary can do, probably based off policy. So that's obviously something that needs to be looked at. But who is speaking to these kids about the things that are being said, the things that are being done, and the torment that's being done? Because I, too, completely understand where you're coming from. That's not okay in any aspect. And we are concerned with mental health with our students and in our community and our environment, and that's enabling a bad situation to continue. I'm honestly ashamed that we haven't taken care of this already.
Well, I don't think that we think it's someone's fault. Like, I'm not sitting here thinking Mr. Hammer or Mary Netto at all. I'm thinking we have some upset parents, we have some upset students, and then we have some administrators who probably have done their job. But we don't know the whole story, so we just want to help.
With that, we will end the discussion. I have heard everyone sitting around this table. I know how serious it is. I worked in law enforcement a long time ago, so I'm sure that there will be some discussion and meetings, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we are adjourned. Matt, you can shut the camera off.
Ellen.